Okay, get ready for a rocket ride. This is classic Leokimvideo stuff. We're going to take a look at the behind the scenes of my 2014
Halloween special.
The very scary part for me was I built a railway out of Trackmaster 2 track, and this forced me to go through a major learning cycle to understand how it all fits together. It's certainly not as simple to put together as a classic Trackmaster track, but you can achieve a far more dynamic toy railway. I go through many of the track packs which are available for Trackmaster 2, and then we move into second gear and we start to dress up some Trackmaster 2 characters in some pretty amazing Halloween looks. And what I try to do all the time is show you exactly my processes. I don't hide anything from you. So if you want to understand how to pull apart one of the new Trackmaster 2 Thomases, you will find it in this video. In many ways, this is the style of video that I used to make for YouTube maybe 3 or 4 years ago, so a lot of the people who've known me for a long time on YouTube are going to be very, very happy. Okay, let's do it. I better put this title up or I'll be in trouble. There's some model making processes in this video. Some of them are a little bit tricky, but most of them are very simple. Well, hi there. This is going to be my behind the scenes of my Halloween video for 2014. I nearly wasn't going to make this video. Basically because I was starting to run out of time and I just thought, well, sometimes Halloween stuff doesn't work on my channel. With the miraculous advent of the Trackmaster 2 system, I'm sort of hoping to incorporate that into this year's Halloween special. But to dress up my Halloween themed train set that I'm yet to build on the table here, I've had to go out and buy a whole ton of Halloween boogie, which can be frightfully expensive, no pun intended. And hopefully one of the core centerpieces to this year's display will be this giant hairy spider, which cost me, actually bought this in the off Halloween season for $12. It was actually at the Dockside Markets, one of the places I pick up the knockoff Thomas trains, was that beast. And a recent playset I looked at on my channel was the Deluxe Avalanche playset. Let me move the spider out for a second and talk about it. This was at Costco Australia. It was $67.99, a fantastic bargain. And this is the deluxe version. The standard version, which is not deluxe, is a $100 toy in the shops in Australia. From that very impressive playset there, I'm thinking I can put up pieces of it and just have it as dressing, like things falling over and broken down. I like this element from that playset. I also like the Scrap Monster. Who doesn't like the Scrap Monster? I've also taken a look at Gordon's Hill as part of the Trackmaster 2 series, and I'll use that in this video as well. But I'm hoping to incorporate some spiral track work, the starter set, and some of these other smaller playsets, which will have some hopefully interesting pieces to add to my horror railway. The engines that I'll dress up in horror theme this year will be James. I like this one here because it's already got a scared face. I'll do Gator because he's naturally scary as he is. I'll do Diesel here. I'll do a nice simple change to him. I'll do the new version of Diesel 10, and of course, how can we not forget our old friend Thomas the Tank. Maybe you remember last year I dressed up a Rusty as a jack-o'-lantern. Actually gave that little train away to an American YouTuber called Kahoe5. But it was a very simple little thing to basically split this and dress up Rusty on either end with that there. I'm hopefully going to do the same simple sort of transitions to these trains here. But just as a reminder also, I like to do some pretty weird cargo. Remember the Troublesome trucks that I had with the bony carnage cargo there? Well, that is actually how these skeletons have appeared this year. $2 a set, but I can't find the black ones. But you could still use things like this as really cheap Halloween horror train dressing. But you got to be careful buying this Halloween boogie. Some of it can be ridiculously expensive. I think one of the classic cases of where I've been bitten was this Beware sign. It was $6.95. And it wasn't until closer inspection that I brought it home. I just find it's mounted on a piece of cardboard. It's a really cheap build. It's just foam. The thing falls apart if you sneeze on it. And if I turn it on, you can barely see what it does unless I turn all the lights out. And now I've got the lights out, you can see what the tiny LEDs in there do. And what you need to be aware of is crazy prices on Halloween gear. I picked up some of these little lanterns that project shapes, Halloween shapes. You've got to be near darkness to see those. I'm projecting onto a white sort of pattern. There are the Pez, the Halloween Pez, they may get incorporated. For $6, down at my local Coles, there were these lanterns. And if I go down to near darkness, maybe I can turn one of these on and show you what they do. There's two settings on these. One of them is a light setting. It does that. And if I flick the switch the other way, makes this most horrible sort of Halloween sound. It would just annoy you. There's the other one, the skull light thing. I mean, hearing that for a while, that'll just send you loopy. If I can turn the damn thing off. It's weird, it doesn't do the sound and the light at the same thing. It'll either do one or the other. Maybe it needs a hack. While I have the lights down, I'll show you some of these projectors too. Okay, there's the first one. It's a ghost. I suppose they're pretty cool. You can make him fly around if you're very careful. And coming in, look at the other one. It's a bat. Depending on how close or far away you have the little projector, it changes its size. But hey, talk is very cheap. I better dig into this and start making my Halloween train set for 2014. Well, I'd like to show you the progress, which is fairly slow. I've painted up some spiders that used to be black, put a bit of silver on them, and they look a lot better. And I've finally come along and built one of the spiral track sections from the Trackmaster 2 series. The Sodor Spiral Expansion Pack comes with these instructions here, but I've got to be honest here, I found trying to deal with these pictures here a little bit confusing. There is one picture here which is utterly confusing to me. There's so much going on here to try and work out what part goes where. I think the best thing to do is, and I've done it before, you go and look at the box artwork to give you the best picture on how to build this spiral. I have cracked open the Tale of the Brave Troublesome trap set. There's a lot of this that I've already got from the other Avalanche playset that I've got. It's interesting, remember my son loves to play with the packaging like that as a ghost train. Maybe I can incorporate that in this. I'm not going to use this James here because this one hasn't got the scaredy face. The other James that I've got has got the scary face, but the main part that I'm after is this one here. It's that hay bale that looks sort of a bit spooky. I've also cracked open the water tower starter set. So that Thomas down there is officially the second Thomas of the Trackmaster 2 that I've got in my hot little hands. I've got a lot more in boxes, and I'm also going to open up these track packs here and just see what sort of funky boogie we can use in this horror railway. But the important thing for me is nothing is really too rigid at the moment. I'm playing off ideas. I'm going to try and incorporate as many of the spooky things that I've got, even if I have two of them. I'll try and incorporate them as pairs. I'm going to also try and build up some elevated track because I like these components in modular. They're like a little building system. That's the parts from the Gordon's Hill, but it's also the same sort of part but a slightly different colour in that spiral track there. They're great little components, those. But with the centerpiece as that spiral track and that giant spider over the top, I think I can build anything around this and it's going to look pretty Halloween funky. Well, I've opened up two little packs. One is the Dockside Delivery Crane. It's curious, I had in my mind there was going to be a little bit of track in this little pack, but there isn't. You get three little trucks, and when I say little, they are the smaller version that you find with Trackmaster 2. Plus you get this crane, and if you had a piece of track, and let me just bring a piece in, which doesn't come with that piece, or that set, as your train comes along, it moves the delivery crane. And the other little pack I've got is the rail repair cargo and cars, and you get a little piece of track in this one. You get some barriers that get moved by whatever goes along here. You get three of these smaller wagons, little dinky ones that I call them. They got a bit of detail on them, and this is a strange set because it reminds me of Misty Island bumpy track. But as the trains come along, it knocks over the signs. But this piece of track also comes apart, which I don't quite understand why. You can actually de-pin it and have the track actually broken. Maybe someone out there can explain that one to me. Anyway, I will incorporate these two small packs into my horror railway. Another Trackmaster 2 pack that I've looked at for the first time now is the Raceway expansion pack. It's a very curious little expansion pack indeed. I'm just trying to get my head around exactly what purpose this has, because it's sort of like a raceway. You could probably have two engines here. You can set them off as a race, but they'll collide here and one will fall off, and then there's never going to be a winner. So I can't see how it really plays out as a raceway playset. Maybe I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I can cheat here. I've got Diesel set back a bit, and if I set Thomas off at the same time, they're racing, and looks like Diesel has won. And Diesel just sits there shivering as if he's cold. It's very strange. Maybe I need to see this sort of madness again to get my head around exactly what's going on. Okay, here we go with the raceway again, and both engines are running, and, well, they're sort of stuck at that area there. Really weird. Or maybe this is the new way to have fun with Trackmaster. Or maybe I'm playing with this wrong. It says Raceway expansion pack on the pack there. Maybe you guys can explain to me how this one plays out. Can't help myself, have one more go. Okay, away they go. Oh, and oh, it looks like Diesel's through again. Can you believe that? Thomas is looking very shabby back there. Oh well, getting distracted and playing trains isn't getting my Halloween set made, is it, boys and girls? And the next little expansion pack here is the Tunnel expansion pack. It's actually a fairly good set because I like the fact that it's got two sets of points here. It's got a Y intersection as well, and it's got this funky sort of exploding tunnel. That's what the whole layout looks like. Doesn't come with a Thomas, but if you put a Thomas on this one, it's a pretty awesome little thing. There goes Thomas going around the track as he comes, and he'll come through here and explode, bang, through the tunnel. What I do like is this tunnel's got a fair bit of clearance around it. It's quite an open tunnel. That's important for me because when I dress up the trains in a Halloween theme, sometimes I've got dressing that can get caught on stuff. All these packs that I've been showing you come with the adapters between Trackmaster 1 and Trackmaster 2. I shouldn't be talking price because you probably get this stuff a lot cheaper than me, but I bought this tunnel expansion pack. It was $14. And here's the cost. That was $15 for that one that we looked at. That one there was also $15. And that Raceway blah blah was $14. But thinking back to the Raceway, you get a whole bunch of straights of that playset, plus you get those Y intersections. I suppose you get this one, well, for the fact you get a funky little tunnel there, but you get those points. I'm not too keen about getting curves, because what I find is you end up with a whole ton of curves when you get playsets. They seem to be, you know, abundance of curves and very few straights. And the next of the smaller expansion packs is the Maron Bridge expansion pack. It's actually quite a nice looking bridge. It's a lot bigger than the bridge that was at the top of Gordon's Hill that I looked at in our other video. And many people said, what was that bridge doing at the top of Gordon's Hill? A bit weird, isn't it? Anyway, we'll give a Thomas a run on all this curved track that comes with this pack. Remembering Thomas doesn't come with this pack. Whoa, look at Thomas go. And he stops for nothing because he's a Trackmaster 2, Thomas the Tank. And that bridge expansion pack for me, it cost $14. They're all about the same though. I dare say they are far cheaper overseas because I live in a country where toys have a fairly high price. But with all of this track pack boogie and playsets that I've hacked into, I think my Spiral Halloween Spider is going to get an awesome train set around it. Okay, what was a fairly lengthy build. It took me a long time to get my head around this. I've been able to put together, hopefully, a fairly interesting layout here using only Trackmaster 2 track. It took me a fair time to build because I just had to get my head around this very different track system. Diesel's having trouble. He keeps wanting to come off. But it's just one of those things. I had to go through the learning process of using some very different types of track to build this layout. Quite interesting. I'm finding Thomas is fairly stable on this layout I built, but Diesel keeps wanting to jump off. There we go. Gave him the shove and he's totally off now. I mean, what is very cool about the system is look how sprightly Thomas can go up to the spiral. I mean, that's the nice part of this. It's a very dynamic little track system. Mind you, accidents keep happening. Over the back there is a bit of the Gordon's Hill. Of course, that's the spiral track there. These components here came from the Deluxe Avalanche set. One of these did as well. This one came from the other set which had James plus the Scary Haystack. There's the expansion pack there, the bridge one. That's from the Deluxe Avalanche set. I just used it as dressing. That there, and also that red piece as well. I've just got it in there as dressing. Of course, there's those little bits here from those little tiny expansion packs. Sort of cute. That piece there is from that tunnel expansion set, and this one here is from the starter set. It's the water tower piece. But what makes building with Trackmaster 2 track a little bit tricky is with a lot of the playsets and packs, there are these very specialized pieces of track that are very hard to incorporate really unless they're in the design that came with the playset. I'm sure you can use these to get into elevations and out, but I found it difficult to use these very, very specialized pieces of track. And there's another example. It's all curved and bendy. But what got me out of trouble, where I needed to fill in gaps, was the bits that go from Trackmaster 1 to Trackmaster 2. These make up little tiny short pieces of track to get me out of trouble. And coming along from the water tower piece, there's an example of me getting out of trouble by using a double up of the adapter. And once again, I've used it up here to fill in a gap. I tried to steer clear of using these barricade pieces. I don't like them. They're a bit too bright for me. They just don't look like... I mean, they look like something from a racetrack rather than a train set. And these are all the bits and bobs that I didn't incorporate, you know, into the set. Maybe I should squeeze the signals in there somewhere. But there's another one of those really wonky bridges. And there's bits and pieces from the Gordon Hill set that never got to play. But I've still got some work to do. I'm still understanding where I can and can't have pieces. There's a classic example there. I have to be very careful where I put pieces or else the trains tend to collide, but I will get there. I'll get to understanding this playset sooner or later. But it's all about getting snippets like this for my video. Well, it's getting there. It just took a little bit longer than I thought. Let's see if Diesel can make it down without having a stack or a crash. Oh yeah, oh no! Oh, he's been smacked out by Thomas again. I'm pretty sure I couldn't pull off an interesting layout like this with elevation like we see here with using Trackmaster 1 or Trackmaster Classic pieces. Trackmaster 2 has some very interesting elements. It took me a little while to get my head around how they can join up and combine, but I'm sure once I play with it a bit more, I'll understand how to really make some funky layouts. Okay, I've got the Trackmaster 2 trains here that I'll be converting to a Halloween theme. I'm sort of toying with the idea of putting this Pez Ghost on the front of Thomas here, but first off, we're going to do a very simple transition to Diesel. Well, this is actually my second Devious Diesel of the Trackmaster 2 style. You know, these actually sold very fast in the shops. Where I saw them selling, they no longer exist, so I'm glad I picked up the ones that I did. Mind you, I went to some shops and bought out the whole stock. Sorry about that, guys. Come on, Diesel. Don't be so plain hard to get out of the box. There he is. And what I'll be doing with Diesel is very simple. I'll basically be painting him white, but I'll also toy with the idea of putting on some glow-in-the-dark paint. This glow-in-the-dark spray paint, I've never used it before. All I can tell you is that it is not cheap. I saw someone else speak about this in another video, but they never detailed the fact it's like 5 times the cost of normal paint. It also comes in a tinned version as well. But maybe just doing the very simple thing of painting Diesel white is all we need. Maybe playing with this stuff is a bit of glow-in-the-dark overkill. Okay, I've painted the little explosive wagon with glow-in-the-dark. I've painted Devious Diesel white, not too heavy a coat, but I've also put glow-in-the-dark over him. Let's see if he glows. Okay, I'll just turn the light out. Could be totally underwhelming or overwhelming. Whoa! That is glowing, well, a fair bit more than I expected. That looks fantastic. It really is quite a creepy look. Okay, this Trackmaster 2 Thomas, I've already started pulling him apart. It's actually quite interesting to see how it's held together. It's just glue that basically holds this part on. The running board, I could probably paint that white and make him look really fantastic, couldn't I? Be so simple to do, wouldn't it, Mattel? And this part here, the front of the boiler, it's an interference fit of the face, and I was actually getting in there for a screwdriver and being very untidy, but eventually it just snapped. So the face part comes off separately, but it's actually just broken the plastic there. So if you can imagine, that's actually a piece, it's a glue fit that goes on there. But nevertheless, it gives me the idea to toy with getting one of these Pez Ghosts onto the front of Thomas, but I'm not exactly sure how much of the boiler I'll keep and how much will be Ghost. To get the running board off, it's a bit tricky. You have to be very careful. I had to break the glue seam very carefully along the line there. You can see where it was glued, and it goes up into those holes there. But what I will do while I've got it off is take the luxury of painting this white, because it's going to really lift the look of the Thomas model, I'm sure of it. With the front of the boiler here, it might be better off keeping it on there because it really is an important aspect to a steam engine, and I might just get the Ghost to be like the new face. Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one to make it look good. But as I've found in the past, Pez are so great at making things, you know, look good, and they're really easy to pull apart like that. And this Ghost is going to make Thomas fly really good for Halloween. Well, I'll show you how I'm going along keying the Pez Ghost into the front of Thomas here. I will go for the look with the boiler stuck there. And as you can see, I've been cutting away, well, with a file very carefully, the plastic that I need to get rid of to make it fit into Thomas here. And I think the trick with Pez, and I've showed you how to file Pez before, you just use hand tools. You don't get in with machines because the Pez plastic is actually very soft. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull apart another Thomas because the running board is outside drying, but I will show you how to pull apart this running board off Thomas, because it's actually a bit tricky. And the way I started it was I got a screwdriver in the front here and I leave it down, and what happens is I start to break the glue seam, but you have to be really careful doing this. And then as you keep going along, you'll hear snaps and cracks, but you will pop it off. And it's a case of getting in behind as well, because these toys are designed not to come apart, but as you can see there, that running board on this one is coming away as well. It's a tricky process to do. In no way is this easy. You've just got to take your time. Oh yeah, this toy was certainly designed not to be an easy pull apart. This is very tricky getting this running plate off. But it's just a matter of being very, very careful and working your way around the model. It's funny, I almost wasn't going to show how hard it was to take this off and just, you know, have it one moment it's on, one moment it's off. But I think it's important to see that not everything's easy. It's off. And that is the moment of truth. The running plate, board, whatever thing is free from that second Thomas. The Thomas face on the Trackmaster 2 is the important part that holds the boiler on. The first one I did, I actually just got a screwdriver in and I just, you know, was whamming it up there and hoping it to break it away. But what I might do this time is I'll come in and I'll drill a hole there, because I know once I've broken that section in there, the face will come away and the front boiler will be free. And to explain how I removed that front boiler fully, I was drilling up there first with a small drill. Start off small, work your way up until you get a drill size that basically comes up here and it will break away the front boiler. You have to be really careful. If you drill too far, well, you basically drill out the top here, so you've got to be super careful. Once that front boiler is broken away, then it'll free the face up. I'm sort of thinking it's important to really show this process because this isn't that simple to pull off. And you've probably forgotten why I'm pulling all these Thomases apart. I'm just pulling this one apart here, which is the first Trackmaster one that I had, because I need the running board as a marry-up, because the running board for the other one is outside being painted white. I need it as a marry-up so I can get my cutaway down here correct and little ghost on the front looking fine. And I'm sort of thinking I'm getting close, probably do a little bit of filing where the buffers are there into the ghost feet, if ghosts have feet. I suppose it's their feet, isn't it? Just to get that to marry in a bit closer. And I should show you the running board here. It's still wet. It's going to be a bit of a rough job. This is all a big rush job. Welcome to Halloween. I'm really late making this video. It's only a few days of Halloween as I'm doing this. This is how it's looking. And what I like to do is, I'll go in close with the camera to show you. To get the profile of my cut, I like to come in and mark on the pairs with pencil. And I've already done my cutting with a file very carefully. And you can start to see I'm marrying into the shape of the front of Thomas there. And it's really a case of doing even work on both sides, trying to get the same shape. It's actually quite easy in this, because if you use this file and file straight, you'll do the same work on both sides. But you really have to be careful. You know, this plastic is super soft, as I keep saying, and you just got to be very, very light with the way you file things, and use the file to your advantage. Use the right type of file. I've got a lot of time for pairs. I've turned them into all sorts of things over the years. They're really nice to work with. Okay, I got some blue tack in there, and I'll do a rough lineup or final lineup of our ghost on the front of Thomas here. And it's one of those things where you've just got to come to a point where you say enough's enough, because of plastic, you know, you can't go backwards. If you take too much away, it's very hard to put it back on. I think that's enough, and it's taken me about an hour to get to this point, so it's chewed up a fair bit of time to get this ghost on the front of Thomas. And I'll just unmask this very rough paint job I've done here. The paint's still wet. Nothing like a rush job, is there? If I do a sopperoonie of the running board and get our painted one on there, which sort of looks super funky, oh yeah, it might get a bit of a better look at what's going on here. Just by rushing everything, I'm going to mess everything up. But that's the general look before it's fully assembled, as rough as it looks. I came up to the reassembly aspect of Thomas. I've used Tarzan's grip, which is an acetone based glue. I think there's an Elmer's glue, which is very similar to this. Elmer's glue is big in the USA. I'm not sure if people in America know Tarzan's grip. I've put a little piece here. There's actually like a seam line that the blue connects to the red. And I've only put a piece up the back here on each corner, because I want this to be reversible. If I need to pull it apart again, I don't want to have the fight that I had when I initially pulled it apart. To hold the ghosts on, I've used hot melt glue. Maybe you'll see it, if you sneak down the sides there, you'll see it glistening in there. Maybe you won't. But the top funnel bit isn't really held on, you know, that you can still just see it moving there. It's not held on that securely, but it's not going to come off easily. That's the main thing. You'll probably see a bit of sneaker glue if you're looking up the bottom of the ghost there. But all this is reversible. If I want to take the ghost away, although I don't think I will be, I can. But I think the one thing here is, as I go and pop the bottom of Thomas on, I mean, look how awesome. I hope Mattel are watching this. Look how awesome Thomas looks once you paint that running board. I mean, come on guys, one little bit of paint on there turns this Thomas into Thomas Awesome. But I think the Thomas the Tank fans have already known that. I've certainly known that for a while. It's just a shame the toy companies can't wake themselves up and start doing it. And Diesel's done, he's all painted and he started to be reassembled. And what's interesting here is the fact that I've masked the face up to paint him, it actually looks more spooky with a masked up face. I don't know, it's doing something for me. That it's sort of funny when you can't clearly see something, it sort of makes it a little bit spookier. But maybe I will go by seeing the face and I'll pull this tape off, and I don't know, maybe I'll probably want to have the tape back on. It's one of those weird things, isn't it? You don't know which way to go. Oh yeah, there's Diesel. To do our Halloween theme on these two engines, Thomas the Ghost Tank took the most time because of doing the cutout of the ghost, and it was a bit fiddly to pull Thomas apart. Doing Diesel was fairly simple, although it takes time for paint to dry. I want to try and keep some simple processes on these other engines that will do, because basically I'm running out of time. Well, our next victim is James. I'm going to do something very simple with James. Here's one which hasn't got a scary face that I'm going to push to the side. That was out of one of the playsets I pulled apart to get track parts. But here is a scared James from Tale of the Brave. It was $20, I think. I got the price. Yeah, $20 for this James. I have to do a bit of unboxing, but it's very simple. This one, he's got a scared face. You know why he's got a scared face? Because I'm going to glue on this big black spider on the top of James, and I think black and red always look good together. And there's a bit of a fight to get James out. It's got these things here, which I suppose are the better things to come across and trying to get toys out. Boy, I've had some fights to get some toys out of boxes sometimes. Come on, James, out you come. Oh, I'm scared. And the scared James comes with a load of scrap metal and stuff. Isn't that part of the story from Tale of the Brave? Can't give the story away. And what we'll do is we'll load in some spideroonies for him to carry around. And this will be a simple one. I'll use hot melt glue because that's reversible, and I'll make sure that the feet or legs of the spider are coming right down and wrapping around his face, and making sure that we try and keep this spider as tight to James as possible because we don't want him to be fouling on the playset. And one little trick I use to make it that I can get the legs to go where I want them to go is I come in and I cut the leg here. I don't cut it all the way. I mean, if you do cut it right off, you can just use hot melt glue to glue it back on, but then once it's cut there, I'm not fighting the springiness of this plastic or rubber to get the leg where I want it to go, because I want the legs to be down as close to James's boiler as I possibly can. Okay, well, this is how scared James is looking. You know why he's scared? Because he's got a great big black spider on his back. I've glued down his legs. I did a bit of a test. It doesn't go through the tunnel expansion pack piece too well. If I raise it up a bit it will. But I've got some black hot melt glue to come in, and I can come and fix up bits where it's looking a bit daggy in the leg area where I've cut a bit too much. Okay, James is loaded up with his spiders. He's got one of these tender and he's got a giant one on his boiler. Ooh, no wonder why he's so scared. But that little mod there's a very easy one to perform. Okay, next up is Gator. And I've got a Tale of the Brave one here. It was $20, $22. Bit weird. Why was he more expensive than James? I'm sort of thinking, once I pull him out of his carton here, to do something, just sort of take a look at the Gator character first. You know, he's really not scary. That's the whole sort of premise of him, isn't it? I was thinking of putting that there on the front. I'm not sure if it's going to be a good marry-up or not. It might be a bit of work. Remember I did Rusty, the Jack-o'-lantern Rusty last year? I think that's the Jack-o'-lantern I used. I sort of want to try and use that skull on Gator and, you know, really ramp up his scariness. This Halloween stuff is frightfully cheaply made, although it sells at a stupid high price. There must be a lot of money being made by selling this rubbish. Oh, I've got rid of the hidden screw at the bottom there. Okay. That's quite elaborate inside, isn't it? Crikeys. Come on, how do we get this apart? I've forgotten how to pull these apart now. I've got to split the head now, I think. Yeah, pulling these apart is a bit like pulling apart that Thomas before. You just got to take it ever so gently. Listen to things crack and sizzle and pop. And hopefully not, you know, destroy. I've got it. There we are. Split. Hopefully I captured that on camera. If you're curious of the quality inside this thing, or the not quality, there's the electric motor. It wasn't working. There's a very good reason why. Look at the batteries here. They're all corroded up in here. It's a real Halloween special, this one. Ew, yuck. Those batteries in a very poor state of affairs. You better go and check anything that's got these sort of button batteries in there. Look at that. These are gone. You know, because of Gator's shape, his funny shape, the fact he's got this slope on him, it's going to make it a little bit hard to get this face to look nice on the front of him unless I sort of lean it right back. I don't know. It's going to be a tricky one to pull off. I don't know, maybe put the skull cap over the top here and have that. Oh, maybe less is more, isn't it? Take that away. It's tricky. It's a strange shape to fit things onto. Well, the way I'm thinking, for the fact this is so high and the thing I'm going for is quite short, I'm going to cut here. Basically cut all this bottom piece away. It's going to look very much like the piece from that playset, the Take and Play playset, which had the skull, which I've forgotten its name, but it will look something like that once that's taken away, and I think that will be a much easier thing to basically fit onto the front of Gator. That's my plan. Okay, I've done a fair bit of cutting. It's now a much shorter skull piece. It's a strange one to fit because of the shape of the front here. I might cut away one of these things. I'll keep cutting till there's nothing. That there, I think. Let's have a look here how it's sitting. Okay, cut some more away, and I think I'm getting closer to what I want to see. It's starting to get there. What's causing a bit of confusion and delay here is this lamp area here. I'll have to do a special cutaway on one side to contend with that lamp. But sort of that's how Gator's going to look. Okay, well, Gator's done. I didn't do a cutaway where the lamp was. I actually squeezed out the skull face. So I made it flatter, and it fitted onto the front here pretty good. It's not standing up too proud here. It's a bit ugly to look at it from the top because there's a bit of a hole there, but nevertheless, I think Gator's got a whole new attitude. And the way this piece is held on, it's just 2 daubs of hot melt glue on both sides there. So if I want to pull this off and go back to normal Gator, it's really simple. For Gator's Halloween load, I'll use his own cargo trucks here. I actually like this tarpaulin covered truck. It looks pretty spooky just for the fact you're not quite sure what's in there. I've taken the boxes out of the back one and I've just glued in 2 ghouls. I actually had a thought when I was cutting the skull piece was I could have done like the Phantom of the Opera Gator style. I could have cut out like a portion there and had part of his face covered, and that would have been quite spooky as well. And why I like using hot melt glue, and when I say it's reversible, let me give you an example. I've stuck this ghoul in this wagon here. I can just pull him out and I can just pick the glue free, and I can get back to being a clean wagon. It takes a bit of picking, but you can get the glue back off. It doesn't like bond permanently to the plastic. And once you pick out all the hot melt glue from the plastic, you'd never know there was anything stuck in there. Okay, the last engine to do, and it's Diesel 10. Trackmaster 2 conversion wasn't very kind to Diesel 10 by the looks of it. I suppose you get that, don't you, in the toy realm? Come on, Diesel 10, I haven't really had a good look at you yet. He was hard to pick up. He was tricky one to find. I think I've got 2 of these. And he comes. Oh yeah. He's got Pinchy riding up on top there, and he's got a little wagon. Looks like he's pulling electrical stuff. This Diesel 10 model was $18. Just looking back on the packaging there. I think last year, didn't I put a silver skeleton on the Trackmaster 1 version Diesel 10? I don't know. I was thinking of maybe doing something fairly gay with him. I was going to put these lights on him, yeah, having like as a festival sort of Halloween look, but then I found out that not every one of these has a light in it. It's a bit of a cheat. Some of them are there just for dressing, and there's one with a light. Those little ghosts there. I mean, this Halloween stuff, it's just real dodgy half the time when you buy it. Maybe I should stick on some of these critters on the side. I don't know, maybe put a, ghost, cut this ghost down and have the ghost coming out of Pinchy or something. Maybe just wrap him in alfoil, have a silver Diesel 10. I'm sort of scratching for ideas. Maybe as cheesy and overdone as this is, just make him a jack-o'-lantern Diesel 10. What do you reckon? You know what is interesting with this Trackmaster 2 Thomas and Friends trains, they are all standard in the fact it's the same core to all these trains. It's the same set of batteries across all of them. I actually like this. It was a nightmare sometimes dealing with the other or earlier version of Trackmaster. Some people will argue here and saying, well, Leo, no, because now we've got sort of, you know, some characters that have been forced in the way they look because they've got to conform to the same, you know, centerpiece under here. But I'm actually coming around to the thinking of having a standardized core to these trains. It's interesting, this one's a bit of a noisy one, bit of a clunker. Hear that noise? It's curious, they've got some, oh, it's just stopped on me. Come on, keep going. It's got some plastic here, coming in very close to the wheels. So if I squeeze the back here, see that will start stopping the wheels. Weird, that design, I don't know why it's like that. Come on. This is a bit of a dodgy diesel 10, I tell you. All the other ones have been silent. This one's a clunky one. Well, as corny as this may look, let me entertain myself and try out a jack-o'-lantern look to diesel 10. Well, let's take a look here. Looks pretty good, actually. I like that. There's not much work to do here. I'll just trim the bottom off a bit. Yep, well, that's what it's going to be. Well, here he is, the jack-o'-lantern diesel 10. I've given Pinchy a little pumpkin as well. He was feeling lonely. Might have worked better without that. I don't know, just trying to do something different. It is very similar to what I did with Rusty last year. What I had to do was I had to put the coupling up inside this pumpkin because one of the funny features to Trackmaster 2 is there are these inclines, and on the inclines these couplings actually bend a fair way up. If the coupling was out there, it was actually fouling on the track, and he would come to an incline and he would stop. Hopefully this one will run around the whole track. Those arms are fairly bendy, but it's a pretty simple mod that. There's glue points just on the corners there to hold the jack-o'-lantern face there. It's the same on the back, but keep it simple stupid is what I say. Well, there are the modded trains for Halloween. My daughter's just come down. It's the first time she's taken a look at these. I'm going to get her to tell me which one of these she likes the most. Okay, my wondrous one, which one of those do you like the most?
I like this Gator one.
You like Gator, do you?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why do you like that one?
Because it's got like a really cool skull on it, and it's got the ghost in the back, and yeah.
In a funny way, it's probably one of the simpler of the mods that I did. It's one of those things, just minimalistic sort of works. And skulls often work. Well, which one is your next favourite? Looking along that line there.
Ghost Thomas.
Ghost Thomas. Oh, yeah. Do you know the ghost in that one? Do you know what the ghost is from?
No.
It's from a Pez.
Oh.
You see what else I did to Thomas? Can you see anything different?
Oh, you put some white there.
That's right. Good observation. Hey, I'll let you in a little secret. One of these is a glow-in-the-dark model. Let me turn the lights out and you might be very impressed. Okay, we're in total darkness now. What do you think of that diesel?
It's glow-in-the-dark. It's pretty good. Gotta be the third favourite.
Oh yeah, glow-in-the-dark diesel comes in number 3. So there you go. My daughter ranked the glow-in-the-dark diesel number 3, Pez Ghost Thomas number 2, and Skeletor Gator number 1. But possibly what's most important is you tell me which one of these you like the most. I'll tell you the one I like the most. I actually like this Ghost Thomas one here, probably because it caused the most pain to make. It was nice to get rid of that one and do it. Well, I've been doing some track trials of these. I've raised the tunnel up here so I can get the spider through. I'll tell you what, once these get up and running, they look very impressive. It looks very different indeed. Well, I've got a hook up over here, but I think it's only the James spider model that gets caught up. Here, it actually won't go under this bridge as well. Maybe I'll just have to be a bit selective on where I put this. It should come along and it should climb the spidery spiral track in there. Hopefully without getting... Oh well. We'll try again for the spidery spiral. Spider James going around the spidery spiral. Oh yeah, doing it fine. Oh, up until it gets caught in there. I've got a feeling that spidery scared James is the only real troublemaker. I'm pretty sure all the others are okay on this layout. Oh come on, what's going on here? Diesel 10. It might be a bit of a dodgy one, I think. Interesting, isn't it? What's going on here? It just keeps wanting to stop. Okay, there's something wrong with this Diesel 10 motor. Well, the switch is something wrong with the switch, I think. Depending on where I shift the switch. Yeah, well, I'll have to swap it out with another guts. I think maybe that's the, redemption of this system. I can just swap out with another train. That's not a good look. This is brand new out of the box. It's playing up. I wonder who else has had these problems. Okay, that dodgy one, we'll get rid of it. I'll shake out Devious Diesel's guts and hopefully it'll ride inside here, and it does. Let's give that a spin. Okay, hopefully no more confusion and delay. He's running on Devious Diesel's innards, if that makes any sense. Through the tunnel, up he goes. Whoa! Oh yes! He's doing it fine. Oh, down the spidery spiral. Looking pretty good to me. And I'm a bit curious about Skeletor Gator. Let's give that one a spin. Nice speedy start there. There Gator goes, looking very spooky. Oh yeah. Doing it very classy style here, a lot of speed. Down this spidery spiral. Oh yeah. Doing it with beauty. And try and make it around this section of the playset. Oh, it's going to be a stack into Thomas. Whoa! Bushka! Well, boys and girls, you're only ever going to see that on my channel, I'm pretty sure. Maybe you've seen it somewhere else. Maybe you can tell me. Well, I better tidy this train wreck up. We can't have too much messing about because I've yet to make this video. I've actually just worked out. I'm actually a day up or a day advanced to the rest of the world. I was starting to panic because we're a day ahead of everyone else. But I've got a feeling that Thomas is fine. This one's fine. This one, of course, will be fine. This one isn't fine. I'll have to be very selective where I shoot this one on the track. And that one's fine as well. And I'm very curious about my glow-in-the-dark diesel. It actually looks spectacular. It's glowing heaps. That spray paint is amazing. Off it goes. It's literally driving in pitch darkness here. And that is a very, very, very different look. Might have started a new craze here. Going up the spidery spiral. I never thought that glow-in-the-dark spray paint would be so effective. Very spooky indeed, that one. I think that's oh, it's another train wreck. Glow-in-the-dark train wreck, that is. That's the problem with scooting around in the dark diesel, you can't see what you're going to hit. Well, I better leave this quite elaborate behind-the-scenes video here. I'm not sure whether it will go up as 1 or 2 videos. In a funny way, there's 2 sections. There's talking about making this layout with the Trackmaster 2 track. And then there's the very different section about setting up each of these trains and the different processes I used to make them look really Halloween funky. I just hope the main thing that comes across here is that pulling this off is actually pretty simple. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of thought. And in a funny way, I've sort of gone back to classic Leokimvideo by doing one of these styles of videos. I'll probably bring my smoke machine in on this one. I'll dress up a bit more Halloween stuff around here. It's one of these ones that'll be sort of shot in semi-darkness. But I'm hoping that these trains are going to look pretty funky Halloween cool. And when I do make this video, Halloween video, it'll probably be heavily backlit like this. I like a lot of shadows. I like you to see things coming out of smoke. It should be super Halloween spooky, I hope. I'm just hoping my big spiral spider ends up being a really good main feature. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's probably going to be way too long for YouTube. They just prefer to have little 3-minute videos these days. I just hope that you've learned something and that you see my processes are always really simple and hopefully visually effective. And you know what I'm going to say next, don't you? As always, thank you very much for watching and bye for now.